Welcome to Where Parents Talk TV. My name is Leanne Castellino, and today we are celebrating Orange Shirt Day. Our guest today is Joan Sorley. She's the Secretary-Treasurer of the Orange Shirt Society. She joins us from 60 kilometers north of Williams Lake, BC. Joan, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Leanne.
Can you tell us, first of all, what is your affiliation with the Orange Shirt Society?
Sure. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer on the Board of Directors.
And tell us a bit about your involvement and how that all got started.
Sure. Well, in 2013, from my perspective, I was on the board of the Cariboo Regional District, which is a local government, and Chief Fred Robbins, who is a residential school survivor, he came to us, and as he went to many other local governments in the area, and he asked us to help him put together what he called an epitaph for the St. Joseph's Mission Residential School. And he was a survivor, as was his family. And he asked us to help him, and we all did. We all jumped in, and we found some grants, and we got this amazing facilitator. Anyways, it turned into a week-long event. And at that time, so I should back up a bit, it was a Truth and Reconciliation event also. So it was they were traveling around the country taking statements. And so that whole thing was a week-long event. It culminated in a reunion of survivors, a weekend reunion. And Phyllis, during the preparations for that, she told her story for the first time of losing her orange shirt. She and I were already friends. We had been involved in committees before, and we just kind of connected. So she told it for the first time, and it resonated with everyone, as you can imagine, of all ages. Kids realize that, they understand that, they get it, and adults and grandparents, everybody. So we were also at the time thinking about how we make sure that this just doesn't become, another event that just gets some newspaper write-ups happen and then it gets forgotten about again. And so I came up with the idea, actually, of Orange Shirt Day, so that we at least remember to talk about it every year in the Cariboo. We had no idea that it was going to grow the way it did. But it did, and here we are.
For those in our audience who might not be fully familiar with Orange Shirt Day, just take us through what exactly it means. Okay,
so when Phyllis was a little girl, and Phyllis today is 50-something. When she was 6 years old in 1973, she was taken to the Indian residential school in our area. And before she went, she was excited, as kids are, about going to school. And her granny took her to town to buy her, she calls it a shiny orange shirt. And she picked it out in the store, and she was so excited and feeling so pretty and, all of that. She got off the bus. The nuns were waiting, and they took them into, I don't know where they took them, but they took them. Her shirt was taken away from her, and she never saw it again. And that taught her that she didn't matter, that, she learned very quickly, along with all the others, that they didn't matter. Nobody cared if they were hungry, sick, tired, cold, all of that. And so that's where our slogan comes from today, Every Child Matters, for our determination to make sure that every child matters from now on. And it's a defiant thing, actually. They took away her shirt long ago and taught her that she was no good. And today everyone's wearing orange shirts in honor of all of those little kids who learned that so brutally. And today, that wearing that orange shirt is a message to all of the survivors, all of the families of survivors who suffered, and that you do matter, that that we care, that those things happen to you. We didn't know, or we knew part of it, or we should have known. But even if we didn't, it's awful. We're sorry. We want to make damn sure that it never happens again, or anything like it. So, in a nutshell, there you are.
As a non-Indigenous person yourself, why was it important for you to be involved in this movement? And not just to be involved, but to have such a critical role in basically discovering this day and sort of remembering it in the way that it's remembered?
Yeah, I don't know, really, except I was raised in a way much the same as Phyllis. And, I mean, my family was poor. My dad was a logger in the days that logging didn't pay well. And so it was always a struggle to put food on the table. We didn't have running water as kids. And, and our clothes were homemade and our food was grown or raised, But the difference was that I got to go home from school every night. And my teachers expected me to excel, and Phyllis's teachers expected that she would never need to know math, for example, because she was never going to do anything more than whatever the use that they had, and it's just, for me, it's so wrong. And I realized that I had a friend, a neighborhood kid, who probably went to residential school when she was 12. She was there in the summertime, and so she was older than me, and all those memories are fuzzy, but she went away and I never saw her again, and no one ever spoke about her again that I remember. So, I wonder if she went away to residential school and if she was one of the ones who didn't come back. And so, I feel like I should have asked about that. And also, when I went to high school, there was a residential school down the road. And those students came into our high school, and they went back to the residential school at night to sleep, which is what they did in the later, this was in the 60s, I was growing up. And I got to know some of them like kids do, and I was shocked and horrified to realize that those things were going on in that school, and I was oblivious. And I was oblivious as an adult until Chief Fred came to us and, made us listen, made us wake up. The other thing was, it was really important to him, and he was right, that the non-Indigenous community learn about this. And he knew that changes and reconciliation wasn't going to happen until non-Indigenous people knew what happened and were part of making sure it doesn't ever happen again. So, I don't know why I'm so passionate, but I am, and I am a volunteer, and I work very hard, and because I think it's important. And I'm lucky at this stage of my life that I get to do what it is that I want to do, that I feel so passionately about.
Take us through when you heard Phyllis Webstad's story, and we should mention, is the executive director of the Orange Shirt Society. When you first heard that story, what went through your mind?
Well, when I first heard that story, Phyllis and I were in a coffee shop, and there was a news conference the next day about this event coming up. And she wanted me to meet her there because she really didn't know what she was going to say. The reunion committee put her in front of the microphone, so to speak, and she wanted to run some ideas past me. And when I got there, she was already there, and she said, "I need to go buy an orange shirt because I know what I'm going to say." And she's telling me, and the tears are, like she's it's still very raw, because every time she tells that story, she's that little girl again. And so I don't know what I thought, to be perfectly honest. I encouraged her to tell it. I thought it was incredibly powerful, and I was sure that it was every child's story. Everybody who went to those schools, they took away all their personal belongings and all their personal stuff. They weren't allowed their own clothes. They weren't allowed toys. All of that stuff. So it just, I don't know. But I do remember saying to her a few days later, there was a school event, a non-instructional day for the teachers, and Phyllis spoke at that one as well. And I said to her at that time, I said, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And I'm so angry that happened to you. And I promise that I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And she said, that's the first time anyone's ever said that to me. So, yeah.
What has been the impact of knowing this story on the way that you've been a parent?
So I didn't know the story when I was raising kids. I was finished raising kids, and they were raising their own kids by the time that I heard Phyllis's story. But my grandkids have been roped into Orange Shirt Day since the beginning. And, in our family, it's a topic of conversation now, for sure. And my grandkids have got the books, and my great grandkids will be getting a book for Christmas. So, yeah, it's definitely a topic of conversation now. And I think for parents, it's important that kids learn empathy and caring, and I think kids do. That we just need to nurture that. But I'm not an expert by any means.
Mm-hmm. What would you say has been the impact on Phyllis of not only sharing her story, but all of the support that has come with it and the awareness that has come with it? Really, it sounds like from a lot of your efforts as well.
She's sometimes she's overwhelmed by it all. She says, and I think it's even quoted in our new book, but she says that she's filled with hope when she goes to school, because these kids today get it, and they're not going to let it happen again. She gets letters from kids from across the country, and she reads them all. It takes her a while to answer them, but she reads them all, and they mean so much to her that the kids get it. And we go into a school, and I don't travel with her all the time, but sometimes I do. And we'll go into a school, and they're all welcoming. They're so excited about seeing her, and they ask the best questions, that shows that they're thinking about it, and that they get it. So it means a lot to her. I don't know if she would have done it if she'd known what it was, like the impact and the pressure. Like, there's an amazing amount of pressure on her, because day after day after day, especially right now, you know.
Do you feel that because of where we are in the world today in general, that the awareness is even greater for issues like this one, for remembering injustices, discriminatory behavior, that kind of thing? Has it further helped your movement and cause?
Um, I don't know. I do know that this year we've got, so from the beginning, people from the States have participated in Orange Shirt Day. Not a lot, but some. And we get photos on our Facebook page of people that are remembering their parents or grandparents or whatever. And this year, we've had more people reaching out from the States, and they're wanting to be more involved. They had the same thing in the States. Australia had the same thing. So, and Phyllis is participating in a conference towards the end of November, a virtual one, but it's in Australia, about this very thing. And so the world is getting smaller and smaller, and we're realizing that, you know, what happened here wasn't unique to here. It happened in other places also, and pretty much I think anywhere that one nationality was trying to take over the world. Really, that was what it was about, the imperialistic whatever. So they had to find a way to get the Indigenous people out of their way. And here it was the residential schools, also in Australia and New Zealand, and in the States it was as well. So it's pretty universal.
What would you say gives you hope as you look forward into the future?
Um, well, like Phyllis says, the young people, um, it's it's not going to happen again. I believe that probably we're not going to see reconciliation in our time. But as more and more people get it and realize, you know, like non-Indigenous people have grown up with a lot of fixed ideas and stereotypes that were handed down by generations, and you know, we can't help it. It's the way we were raised, and you know, things get ingrained in people. Um, so as we learn better, I don't know who said it, but I say it all the time, as we learn better, we do better. And young people are getting it, schools are teaching it. And so at, you know, one day, there's not going to be any difference. So like the residential school impacts will have gone, that healing will have taken place, and all of us will realize that that's our shared history, and that we all need to figure out how to respect each other and work together to make a better country. And because the kids really get it, that's what gives me hope.
Finally, what would your message be for parents in terms of what you said earlier, which is teaching empathy and those kinds of things? It's going on in school. There's more of it happening in society. Baby steps, definitely, but it's happening. What would be your message to parents to try to, foster this behavior in their own children?
I think I would say have the conversation with them. Visit our website with them. If you have a chance, buy Phyllis's book. This one is, oh, hold it up. Maybe there. This one is called Phyllis's Orange Shirt, and it's for really little kids, and it rhymes, and it just kind of introduces the story for younger kids. And then, oh, here it is. This one is called The Orange Shirt Story, and this was Phyllis's first book, and this is the story, and it also talks a little bit about her life with Granny at home before she went to school, and then, you know, a little bit about today. Not very much, but she's a grandmother, and she has grandkids that she's very proud of, and her work with the Orange Shirt Society. And then lastly, for older kids, this is a book that we've just published. It's called Orange Shirt Day, and it's by the Orange Shirt Society, and Phyllis and I wrote it and edited it together with our publisher. And it is kind of a textbook format, and it is meant for textbooks, but it's a great resource also for older kids and for adults. I've given it to some of my friends who say it's really written in such a way that it's easy to read, it's easy to understand, and it's got ideas for further research and stuff. So, I think I would say have the conversation, talk about it all the time, and encourage if schools aren't doing it. I think more and more schools are doing it. They're observing Orange Shirt Day, and they are bringing elders, survivors into the classroom to talk to kids. So, yeah, talk to your kids about that, and maybe they could encourage their schools to do that kind of thing if they're not already doing it. And so that's the best advice I think that I could give.
Joan Sorley, Secretary Treasurer of the Orange Shirt Society, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Leanne.